Ah, I was just doing this video, and for some reason, with no audio, with no music, there was some sort of blockage. And I don't know why someone would do that. I have, I don't, there's no audio in this. There's no music, just me. You can't copyright my audio. It's just me. All right. So what do we got here? Um, Basically, I'm gonna celebrate comic books with IDW Publishing. Since hopefully I'll go through, try to do this in an organized way. I'll go through my collection of trades, not the comic collection, because it's easier to do the trades because they're on shelves. And I guess I'll go through it. So basically, I didn't have anything from IDW until around this book, Star Trek Romulans by John Byrne. This was like, well, this is a Treasury edition of Treasury reprint of some of the Romulan stories that John Byrne did. And this, for a book like this with the decent storytelling, a lot of panels, this kind of works better a little bit larger. I would think something with big splash pages would work better, but this is really nice in Treasury edition. And so, but if you want more of that, then you have to get this. And this trade of John Byrne's Star Trek work, which not only has the Romulan stuff, has Star Trek Assignment Earth, if you remember that. It was a pilot that was done on, what was it? It's done in Star Trek as one of the single episodes with Gary Seven. And what else I want to say here? Obviously more Romulans. But the other thing I want to get to is just a major character in this is number one from the Cage. She's in Star Trek Crew, another miniseries that John Byrne did, which was, it's almost like Desilu color, trying to keep with the approach of the Star Trek show. And what else? More Romulans and more Klingons. So this one I've read a lot. It's kind of struggling to stay in the spine, which all your comic books should be like that. So if you're gonna get that, you might as well get some of the photo novels, and there's a lot of them. So you got that. And some of these are takeoffs or sequels of the original run, like the Mirror Crack, which is, if you like the Mirror Mirror episode, this is a good sequel to that. And then you have some new stuff that you haven't seen before. And then, I gotta have my favorite in here. Obviously, Harry Mudd. Some of my favorites: Resistance, the original crew meet the Borg. Oh my goodness! What else do we got here? And then the all-time. Well, we'll talk about the Hollow Man in a second. Chekhov as Ensign. But I said the Hollow Man. You heard the Hollow Man. All of that hasn't grabbed you. You have to get this trade right here. Got a Comic-Con signed by John Byrne. I think that was the first time I met him in person. He signed it. Keep on trekking. It has a great Spock story where Spock's old thought about doing this was that I was watching someone's site and they were, I guess what they say, it's almost applauding that IDW was struggling as far as the numbers that they were making. And I don't know if that means anything of content, because you've had many great comic companies that have, fallen by the wayside. You've had good stuff by Malibu. You've had Devil's Due. I mean, there's other ones that I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, Valiant is one that goes up and down. So I thought, since I have a lot of work from IDW, and obviously let's, I guess, finish up the Byrne stuff because I still got some more. Luckily, they kind of con Byrne into doing all of his creator-owned stuff. So not only did we get black and white phone books of The Next Men, which is one of my favorite books, which I've read. No, I mean, I don't know how many times I've read the original comics, but it's always great to have something. There's some rough stuff in here, but it's fun to have it in the phone book style. You have everyone's favorite. Sadly, Danger Unlimited never sold enough to make it, but and same I guess could be said for his other creation. So we have some, which would be Babe, who's in the back here, and Babe is, well, obviously Danger Unlimited is classic in the FF style, and Babe is more, it's not really the She-Hulk, but it's kind of like a sort of a B movie type of story, which is kind of with some fun sort of things in there. So you have some mundane stuff mixed with some Bollywood type aliens. And if I'm bringing up Babe, we've got to bring up the big reason why, the Cyborg Gators. This is something that's going to get burned into the history books, the Cyber Gators. And I have 1-page original art from this book. But I mean, this was some of my favorite stuff right there. So that said, let's just quickly go through the rest. I can't quickly go through it. You got Trio. People are iffy on Trio, which is sort of like a Fantastic Four sort of thing, but really nice art. The killer stuff in here is the Leviathan and the Nautilus. They are, I mean, obviously they tried sort of like Triton and maybe like the Submariner, but then you have these Loch Ness monster type characters before Jeff Johns and Aquaman, and I think doing the classic superhero stuff. And then lastly, the reason you had to buy it is Golgotha, who appeared in The Next Men. And in Next Men, they appeared in Danger Unlimited. He appeared in Danger Unlimited, and he is a great character. You gotta meet Golgotha. So quickly getting through the rest of them. I said quickly, I'm gonna lie again. The Highways, there's a slew of creator-owned books. I won't necessarily show you that because I want to spend more time on Doomsday. You can get this. This is great. Another video on this, but this is, if you remember, Doomsday +1 that John Byrne did as the earliest part of his career. He decided to do Doomsday .1, which is what is it? Why would I pull out this book, during this apocalyptic time? So this is a tale of a group of people stuck in the apocalypse, sort of like the way we are right now. So let's keep it fun. Let's go to the Cold War, which is it's Michael Swan, who's the agent, who's like more, it's sort of like James Bond. I guess closer to what the books was, but then they still have some sort of they have some of the Roger Moore type of big nuclear sort of event. But the best part of this book, which, well, no, there's a lot of good stuff in this, the race, but then there's a big fight in the snow, which I think this is up there. This is where Byrne and Perez fight against each other on action scenes that are close to movies. So there's only one of you guys out there. This sucks. No, it doesn't. It sucks because I want more people out here. But anyway, lastly, this, instead of that Jurassic World, they should have done Jurassic Park. Devils in the Desert. It takes off right up at the Jurassic Park 3. It's very much just like a movie. It's but unlike a movie, the lead characters, they're once a lead character, and then there's other characters that get introduced to sort of pass the baton. And it's interesting to see more like a novel how you could start with one lead character, and then it can lead you to the next set of lead characters in here. And then if you aren't done with needing some more superheroes, we have Triple Helix. This is using a lot of elements of the X-Men, but there's some stuff unlike the X-Men, and Golgotha appears, so you got to see that. So, classic action. And hopefully no one's looking. No, who got me here? Nope, nothing yet. All right. So that's it. Go out and buy some IDW books. We went through my whole Byrne. Wait a second. That's not all the books I have for this. Also got more. Got Richard Stark's Parker by Darwyn Cooke, RIP. Oh, no, nothing yet. Let me turn up the sound. So now, set of 4 of these. Of course, if you got one, you got to get them all. The outfit also. Got to get the score, and then you got to get Slayground. Now, this is sort of, I don't know, this is sort of like comic book. Not comic book. This is sort of like Mad Men, if it was a comic book. It also has the New Yorker, like a 50s feel. A lot of old school two-tone effects here. And, this is just a classic heist story with a lot of noir elements. But, I mean, Darwyn Cooke has so much stuff on the page. It's a must-buy. Everything's a must-buy. So did we get through everything here? Oh, we didn't get to John Byrne's coloring book. I mean, that's like one of the best things he's done, in my opinion. So I think we got through that, and then of course the other book that Chris Rael I think was trying to get her to do was Angel, since Byrne was a big fan of Angel. And look at that, it looks just like Angel. It has the classic pencils only story with Angel, which is that's something that people have been asking for years. Byrne to do only pencils, but with some color in there. And then what I like even more is Angel versus Frankenstein. And I think on Byrne's website, I call this magnificently ugly, and he liked that term. It's not a term that my father named for a friend of his, but I like to use it whenever I can. And then you want something closer to his Fantastic Four work. Angel, the music of Spears. This is a really fun story. So that's Angel. I got through this shelf, but we got more to go. What else do we got here? Re-release? Oh, no. Since we said Frankenstein, we also have Frankenstein Alive, which is by Bernie Wrightson and Steve Niles. R.I.P. Bernie Wrightson. Kelly Jones also finishes out that because, of course, Bernie Wrightson passed. And we have, some amazing stuff going back to his Frankenstein. And then Kelly Jones completes it. Does amazing work with this, and it's almost like a match made in heaven. And Bernie Wrightson did a illustrated version of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is a classic book, and this is a companion to it. You have Bram Stoker's Dracula, done by Roy Thomas and Mike Mignola. Now, Mignola was actually in the room with Roman Coppola and Francis Ford Coppola, and they worked out that opening scene you see in the movie. In the original trade, they had a foreword by Roman Coppola and talking about the opening scene. But I mean, this is where it's sort of Mignola's signature book before he did Hellboy. So this, there was a Batman, a couple other things he did, Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, and The Legends of the Dark Knight. But this one really said he'd be doing horror for the rest of his career. So, nice black and white version of it. What else we got? Is there anything? This is mostly re-releases, but if you don't like re-releases, because I'm going to have more of those, we have Walter Simonson's Ragnarok, doing a Thor character who wasn't there for Ragnarok, and ultimately he's trying to find the people who killed all the Asgardians. So this is after Ragnarok. There was no fight between Thor and the Midgard serpent, and this is the volume 2. I think he's on the third part of the third miniseries about this stuff, and it's just a fun character. Everything classic about Walter Simonson is in this. It's as I already said, a must buy. But if you're a Simonson fan, you already have it. You know, you can read these in chapters because that's what they say. They say used to read like Charles Dickens should be in the paper. My mother said, and then of course re-releases. Of course, they got another re-release. Star Slammers, the Marvel graphic novel, the mini-series from Bravura, the one-shots from Dark Horse, all in one volume and recolored. Plus, in a nice volume, and plus Walter Simonson's college drawings for the Star Slammers. So, I mean, I'm not even going to sell it. I'm not even selling it. There's no reason to sell it. It's there. You got to do it. And less of a re-release, another Treasury edition is The Rocketeer. Not a Rocketeer. And this, that's John Cassidy. There's a ton of other great artists, but the most noteworthy story in here is by J. Bone, the Warlord of Blargon. Now, this is a really funny story, and ultimately, I think IDW got many great artists to do the Rocketeer, Dave Stevens, create our own character, and that's by Jeff Darrow, and then by the great Dave Stevens, R.I.P. And there's not much a series, but he had. There's. I'm not sure if they re-released that, but there's other things we can get to for Dave Stevens from IDW. We'll get to that later. What can I say? I'm a big fan of Steve Ditko, so you gotta have Gorgo. You have to have Conga. Now look at this. I think the story's all written by Joe Gill. Classic takeoffs of the monsters we know best. There's King Kong and Godzilla. But this is 50s Ditko from the 50s. So kind of it's nice to see some of these classic horror and noir stories by Ditko in this one volume, and I think a forward by introduction by Stan Lee in here. And we might as well read that. Stan, things obviously didn't work out for them, but they did create Spider-Man and did some great one-shots together, and they worked on Doctor Strange together. And he says it would be dead wrong for anyone but me to write this introduction. And I'll leave it at that. You go first one, which has multiple stuff from the 50s and 70s, all the stuff from Charlton Comics. And what would your collection be without woodwork, without something from Wally? And this nice edition from IDW. Some of the stuff he did with Kirby's here. His entire career. This also has a lot of his magazine work. So there's a period where he was doing weird science, but then there's the spot illustrations that was done for, obviously EC Comics and Mad. He was a great artist, another RIP for classic artists, and he also collaborated with two greats, Jack Kirby and Will Eisner. But let's move on to Alex Toth, or Toth as they say. Bravo for Adventure. This is a classic black and white version of one of his favorite comics that he did. And he's a big black and white artist, but sometimes most of the stuff is done in color, but This is presented in black and white. I think there's also an artist edition. I couldn't do both, but I got one. That was the first one that was out. So I got that. And then if you want the history, of that Toth, IDW has 3 volumes: The Life and Art of Genius Isolated, The Life and Art of Alex Toth, which has a lot of artwork in there. See that? So it's another big volume in black and white. What else we got here? Well, there's 3 volumes. There's Genius Animated, and Genius, what is this? The last one? Genius Illustrated. Do I have any quick illustration? I mean, what do you say to that? Kind of tough doing this, but I'm going to keep going. Almost done. I'm not. I think I'm almost done. 22. I'm going to try to do this quick. Space Ghost. That says it all. Of our so-called huge books. Can we get this out? Can I get it out? I got it out. The Incredible Hulk. This was a present, a Secret Santa gift. Or I think it was just a gift from a friend of mine. He got this for me. I couldn't believe it. It's Sal Buscema's Hulk work. I think it's mostly with him and Bill Mantlo. And the lug around. I don't want to mess it up. So let's get it back in here and let's try to finish this video up. All right, we did it. We're almost, no, we're not done. Really, get in there. Get in there, you get over there, and you get over there. So I can put this right in there. Yes, I did it. And the last thing we have here is Torpedo. Some more risque stuff. There is some nudity in this book, but it's done by Sanchez Abuli, and what I came here for was Jordi Burnett. And we got a classic noir story that's done in the past. Has some stuff in here that, as I said, was risque, but I mean, Jordi's amazing. Jordi Burnett is an amazing artist, and this one actually has some Alex Toth stuff in it. So, I mean, come on. It's a must. I don't know. I don't want to open this up and get flagged, but here's an easy page that you can look at and say, wow. But, true. I guess that's it. I got through them. So, I mean, maybe that's not a lot from IDW. Maybe, maybe I could buy more. Maybe they didn't have enough to fill the entire shelves of what I have. And obviously, this is a ruse. You have to go here. What is this thing? You looked at this thing? Oh, there's another. There's always another book on top of these books. But we go down and we have Tor, the artist editions. So I'm going to have to do it to you. I'm going to open up the artist edition. And it's basically like a big coloring book. You just open it up, and we have all this gorgeous black and white work by Joe Kubert. Now, I always knew of Joe Kubert. I bought a treasure edition, and I was like, how am I going to get his stuff now? It's going to mean this. I found it way too late. I was actually buying his work. But then these artist edition came out, so I had to buy it. So there you go, an artist edition. But there's more artist editions. All right, see, I can't. This is very hard to manage. And I don't want to destroy the book or the box. So let's get this in here. Let's close this up. We did it, everyone. We got through the video in under a half hour. No flags. So I'm done. Nope. All these artist editions. Jack Kirby, Commandy. You're wondering when you're going to hear more of Jack Kirby, something from IDW. Well, he got it. Gil Kane, Artist Edition. What else we got here? Big John Buscema, Artist Edition. Marvel covers. What else do we got? We're not going to go too deep. I can't be lugging this thing around. And I'm almost under 30 minutes. Michael Golden, G.I. Joe, yearbook. We got to pull this out. We got to get at least one of these out. Now, this is a portfolio. So this portfolio has, I think it's 2 scans of this. But here is some classic Michael Golden art around the time he was doing the NAM. So it's one of my favorite periods of his work. The NAM is one of my favorites. It has his whole story with the October Guard, which, you know, he had a strong calling to this army type stuff, which has a lot of stuff that's you have to reference. And what else do you do? But I mean, this is one of my favorite stories. And it was only, I don't know, it's not that many pages to it. So it's great that they had it. And I had to spend a little money on this one because it wasn't online when I tried to buy it. So I'm almost done. No, I'm not. Let's see what else we can find. I'm just trying to keep this to IDW. Get that out of there. Put this on top. We're building a wall. Oh, what do we got here? I think I showed you that already, so I'm not going to show you those two. Keep going. What are we doing? I did show you the X-Men already. What else we got here? There's got to be something easy to find. We're just building a wall, guys. Oh, so that's a good place to start. The Rocketeer. I knew I could find it. I didn't actually know I could find it. But let's see if it's done the right way. Yes. Now, this actually is not the first edition. This is the second edition. But, I mean, I missed the first edition. So that's why there's reprints. And we open right up to a Betty Page page. And we get to see the amazing stuff by Dave Stevens. You can see it from here. Look at this. What else? All right. We found that. I said I'm going for half. I got 20 minutes. That's Mike Mignola one. Let's keep going. We're going for it, guys. 10. What do we find? Jack Kirby. Herb Trimp. That's it. That's what did I end on? Nope. It's a good place to end. So you have Frank Miller, Artifact Edition. And since this one is on the bottom, we have Dave Mazzucchelli, his Artist Edition, which is almost most of the actual comic of Born Again. So that's it. I didn't go further, but there's also Kelly Jones, who I spoke about. He and his. I have, but that's a gallery. That's not. Yeah, that's my. No, that's not mine. Oh, that's not supposed to be there. But anyway, what else we got? There's a few more. There's like some Mad magazines, some more Joe Kubert stuff from Tarzan, and there's a whole slew of Walter Simonson Artist Editions. And then there's a few others. But I mean, you guys seen, I've showed you the Byrne one in a couple of videos, so there was no need to say anything about that. But I mean, they put out a lot of quality stuff. So if you like some of the old stuff and you haven't got the trades, if you might be interested in buy some of that, buy some of their collections that they have. And You know, they do regular comic books, but they do exciting stuff. And one of my other favorites that I don't have in trade form is their Mars Attacks. That is especially their Mars Attacks classics obliterated. But they had a nice run on Mars Attacks. I think the closest to getting the farce of the card series. So I already showed you a Rocketeer thing. You should get as many classic artists. Mark Waid, Paul Smith, I think, is done one. I think it is. And who else? You got some, I know Bruce Timm didn't, I don't think did something like that, but this is it. I went over my 30 minutes. Stopped showing you guys stuff at 30. I think, no, I did the Daredevil stuff, but that's it. They're putting out quality stuff, so there's no reason to look at them and say, hey, there's a comic book and the comic company doing it wrong. They're trying their best. They're putting out some great stuff. And if you're collectors and you want to see this stuff, they have a Michael Golden one coming. So what else? They got a couple that I haven't gotten yet that I still want. A couple Kirby ones for Thor and the Fantastic Four. But since I'm almost through the ceiling into the next floor, I had to hold up and then possibly think about trading or switching off to buy more because I couldn't get some of the other books I wanted. Sometimes you get too much stuff. So that's all. I went over, and I guess that's it. Later.